Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Brian Carrier here from Sleuthkit Labs. This is the 3.11 release webinar. We'll give a few more seconds here to let some folks roll in here. And we'll do our basic housekeeping here. Let me resume my screen here. There we go. That's funny. It's looking really funny on my screen, but is it showing for everyone else okay?
It's looking really funny on my screen too. Really
Is it really?
narrow
All right,
band.
It was correct, yeah, before you click the button, I think.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop and then restart. How's that?
There we go.
Okay. All right, I had to pause before. All right, let's get started here. I'm Brian Carrier. This is the Sleuthkit Labs Cyber Triage 3.11 release webinar. On the line, we have Austin and Mike as well from the Cyber Triage Sleuthkit Labs team. We're gonna go through this as usual. There's a Q&A section on the bottom. Everyone is muted. If you have questions, please plug them in. The overall goal of this is kind of let you guys know what's going on in there and a place to ask questions, on things or other ideas or expanded features or other kind of things, just to kind of way to interact with everyone, what we're pushing out there. Most of these things have all come from you guys as requests. So always good to kind of make sure you're seeing what we built and get other ideas. So the key features in 3.11 that we're going to talk about today: BitLocker, VHDX, access all disk image files, new Explorer interface, export all files, some Q&A. There's a clear theme in 3.11, which is all about disk images. Cyber Triage is pretty unique in that it's an incident response, intrusion tool that can work on both a live system and disk images and give you that same behavior. To be perfectly honest, up until 3.11, we weren't fully leveraging all the capabilities of disk images that we had available. We were treating disk images as though it was basically a triaged system. So 3.11 really kind of brings disk images up to what you'd expect out of a more full feature disk forensics tool, and there'll be more capabilities there as well. So we're gonna talk about that as well. So let's go through. Usual reminders though, training bundle. So Mike is on the line here. Mike is head of training. I think many of our customers have signed up for this, but in case you haven't, you can sign up at cybertriage.com/training. In the upper right-hand corner, there's this bundle link on here. This gives you access to the basics course and some workshop data and other things that you get as part of being a customer. Use your corporate domain email account so it gets tied to your purchase, and then we'll get the free registration. If you aren't a customer, you'll get rejected, but you should be a customer because we do cool stuff. So one other thing I want to bring up before we dive into 3.11, we've been doing a bunch of work on EDR integrations and doing blog posts and things and documentation on how to integrate Cyber Triage into your EDR. So there's posts and content out there on SentinelOne, Defender, CrowdStrike. We've got a PowerShell script called the deployer that you can plug in and configure to either download the collector from our site or use your own or use S3. Whole bunch of options. We think it's really powerful to integrate in Cyber Triage with your EDR so that when alerts happen, you can quickly get that collection from that live running system. If you have any problems or questions with integrating in Cyber Triage with your EDR, reach out to us via support or whatever. We'd love to help you answer questions, on doing that. Every deployment's a bit different. Every environment's a little bit different on what works well for them. So we try to make a script that helps out with that. But you get every scenario is different. So let us know if you have questions on that. But we certainly are trying to get as many of our customers as possible with that integration to make sure that it's easy to get those collections on those systems when you get an EDR-based alert. All right. Essentially, as a reminder as well, user docs are online, docs.cybertriage.com. That has the entire listing of all this stuff in 3.11. Here's a screenshot of that. A lot of them are kind of smaller things here and there, like that first one. We get both IP and host names now in Windows events instead of just one or the other to get a more complete thing. something that many of you would probably never notice, but we use as part of this stage to make sure it's complete there. So if you're ever curious about nitty gritty, that history page is the place to get you all that information. All right, let's go through the features. We go back and forth on these webinars. Some of them are very demo based, some are very screenshot based. Today ended up being very screenshot based, just because there's a lot of just kind of single panel kind of things here. So it seems a little faster. This may go fast today, honestly. So we may be out of here before the half hour is over here, depending on what we get for questions here. So first theme, BitLocker support, right? So many Cyber Triage users get full disk images. This was not the intended ideal use case, honestly, for Cyber Triage, but consultants, law enforcement, a lot of folks get disk images as their inputs. They no longer have access to the live system, to that live collection on there. As many of you know, right, BitLocker is enabled by default on more and more computers. Even if the key is not secret, there's a thing called the clear key on there, which is pretty common apparently on a bunch of systems where the system ships with BitLocker enabled, but the password, the key is right there. All you need to know is where to read it from, and you can decrypt the drive, right? So I think the theory there is that once you want to make a password, the drive's already encrypted. All you're doing at that point is encrypting the secret, with your password once you decide to put a password on, but the computer is shipping from the factory with BitLocker enabled. So previously, any users who had a BitLocker image had to use a third-party tool to mount that drive, bring it up as the G drive, the K drive, the H drive, whatever it comes up as, and then point Cyber Triage to it as a local drive. This worked as long as you had that third-party mounting software, but it had the downside that whenever Cyber Triage wanted to go back in and get more data, you had to remount it, make sure it's at the same location. If you want to queue files up, if you had 10 disk images, you can normally queue up 10 disk images right now. But if you had to BitLocker them or de-BitLocker them and mount them, you may not be able to mount 10 drives or whatever, just added complexity. So overall goal here was make sure Cyber Triage can automatically decrypt the BitLocker images as you bring them in. Under the covers here, as many of you may know, Cyber Triage is using the sleuth kit to do all the parsing of the disk image analysis there. So what was done here is that we added BitLocker support into the sleuth kit. For the autopsy users out there, autopsy will be getting this capability as well. We just need to get that release out here. So I'm assuming some point here this summer, we'll get an autopsy release out, and two will have all this BitLocker capabilities as well. So not many differences here. This is the add disk image panel, just like before. You give it a host name, you give it the disk image name. By default, when you first come in here, this BitLocker password will not be shown. We do some auto detection of that. If we auto detect that there is BitLocker on there, we will either first try the clear key. So we say, hey, there's BitLocker. Let's see if there's the clear key password. If there is, we use that, and you have no interaction required. You just give it the disk image name, and we'll go through and do all the decryption behind the scenes. If we detect BitLockers there's no clear key password. We need some kind of password or the recovery key. This will come up. This field will now come up with this little red exclamation point here saying either plug in the password or the recovery key, and we can then go off, save that, and use that for the later analysis. Otherwise, same exact process from then on. That key is saved, the password is saved, whatever. So as you go through your analysis, we'll be able to get those files from them later on. So pretty seamless, which is why a demo is not really required, right? But basically, it should be seamless. If you do the password, plug that in here. There is no, password brute force recovery, aspect here. Either you have the password and the key, or it's the plain text. All right, that's that theme. Very complicated, as I'm sure you can tell. But if you have questions, plug them in. We'll get some. Theme 2, VHDX. So VHDX is another format of virtual machines. We've always supported VMDK, VHD. VHDX is a different form of VHD. We now have support for that as well. So again, very minimal here, but now as you add disk image, you can add the picker for VHDX, pick that, we'll plug that in, and we'll add that in. Nothing else required on your behalf. So pretty simple. theme number 3, accessing all disk image files. So this is kind of an interesting one here, right? So, many people run Cyber Triage and they're like, wow, this is really fast. This is really cool. I'm finding stuff so quickly, right? Our speed comes in 2 ways, just so for everyone's on the same page here. One is the focus on what we call priority files versus all files. So we look at systems files in the system and really spend a lot of attention on the startup items, the recently created ones, the recently downloaded ones, the trigger tasks, etc. Those get more of the love and attention than some of the files that are in various nooks and crannies, of the system. Also, the scoring is part of the speed to make sure that you guys see the relevant stuff quickly. But on the first part, on the idea of focusing on priority files. So on a live system, if you run our collector, we're going to make copies of those priority files, bring them back for analysis. And on 3.10 and before, with a disk image in Cyber Triage, it too was hyper-focused on just those priority files. So when you brought in a disk image into Cyber Triage, it was focusing only on those priority files, right? The startup items, the trigger tasks, the recently created ones, whatever. And the impact is that you would see file names, right? You could navigate the file explorer view and see the names, but there wouldn't be content. And you could right click and kind of go get more content, and it would go get that content and bring it back in. It was kind of tedious. It wasn't kind of the usual experience you may get with an autopsy or something else, where you can just click around any file and folder and see whatever that content is. So in 3.11, the change is that we're still going to focus the analysis on those priority files. We're not diverging from that as our triage goal, but we're going to give you much easier access to any of the files as long as the disk image is still around. So as long as Cyber Triage can still access the disk image, it'll now be transparent from you when you want to click on some random file in some dark corner of that drive. You can get that content as long as that drive is still there. Without getting too far in the weeds here, right? But interesting for kind of context here, right? Cyber Triage has a local file storage where any of the files that are collected, the priority files, a copy of them is located inside of your data directory, which you may have seen in the options panel on your system. So on a disk image, those priority files are still extracted from there. They're brought into that file folder in that data directory, so you can still analyze that disk image, even if that disk image is gone. You can still always analyze the priority files, and you can now get the kind of secondary files as long as that disk image is still accessible. So this allows you basically to start off as a triage, right? Quickly focus on things, and then you want to do that deeper dive on a given system, and you want to look into, hey, what the heck is all these other files inside the user folder that for whatever reason Cyber Triage didn't consider a priority. You can go back in there, you can click around there. The basic idea here is, that's why some people were jumping from Cyber Triage to Autopsy. And we love Autopsy. We love a bunch of tools, but we also don't want to make you change tools just to start clicking around and viewing some files. So part of our goal here is keep you in Cyber Triage, not waste your time jumping between tools as part of that. And this is one of those steps towards that. So in 3.10, what you would have seen if you clicked on one of these non-priority files or secondary files, you would have seen down here file content status not attempted, which meant that Cyber Triage Collector, the application itself, never attempted to get the content for that file, even though you're seeing the file name and the timestamps in the File Explorer view. What you'll now see in 3.11 is that's available. File content status for a file that was collected, I think it says collected. Now we call it available, right? It's not part of the file repository, but it's there if you want to get it, and you can export it there, you can view it, you can do whatever. One other change here is that we've always had a strings viewer. So you've always had the capability of doing some basic viewing of a file in Cyber Triage. You can do the strings view. It's a text file. It's going to look just like it was before. Executable, you get some strings out of there. In future versions of Cyber Triage, we'll be expanding this capability, right? So that, again, you don't have to jump out and change tools. So we will be providing a basic, kind of hex viewer, much like Autopsy does. We do not want to recreate some of the powerful hex editing tools, but we will provide some more of that basic viewing capability in here so that you can do some basic kind of triage of file content as we go through. But right now, I just kind of want to expose the fact that there's always been this strings viewer. Some folks knew about it, some folks didn't know about it, but that is here as you navigate through and you want to look at things. The strings viewer works for that kind of quick and dirty view of what that file is. Second, third, whenever we're on fourth theme of disk image things, again, throw your questions in there. I'll jump back to there in a second, on some of that. Other question here is the File Explorer, interface. So there's always been at the lower left-hand corner, the file section. This is where you can navigate through and see all the files on that system. It's right near the timeline and such. We've now expanded this to be more, again, like on what you would expect to see from your more traditional, forensics tool, right? Which is the tree on the left-hand side of volumes and folders, and you can navigate through that and see the contents on the upper right-hand side. And we've added more columns. Historically, it was very minimum. It was like file name and I think created date. And the rest of the columns were data was down below in the item details things. So this has been a big request from some users and Mike on our side, on the training side as well, to kind of give more of that traditional forensics tool feel. So this is what we have in 3.11. This table, this tree now exists. You can navigate this, open this, click these things through, and then sort on the various columns over here. Screenshots are always limited on presentations so that doesn't get too small. But if I were to magically scroll over here, there's columns for other times, hash values, etc. So basic idea here is that, and we'll see in 3.12, we're adding some things into Cyber Triage that are more similar to how other kind of forensics tools may present things and do things, just to kind of give people that way of using Cyber Triage if that's what they're looking for and used to. So the more traditional File Explorer view, and we'll see that later on, some other things that are coming in 3.12 on ways of viewing different kinds of artifacts as well, mainly with the idea of making this even easier for people to use who want to go to the files view. That's just kind of their way of doing stuff. If you really want to go to the desktop and look on the desktop, then we want to make that easy for you to go to the desktop and poke around there and see what's on there. So that's another theme on here that's in 3.11 to make that kind of full access to the files and navigation for that. Export all files. This is a little bit different, but kind of similar. So we all know everyone uses multiple tools, right? That no one is kind of a single tool, operation here. Even though I said before that we want to kind of not have to make you change tools, but we also realize that people want to. We also know that people really enjoy the Cyber Triage collector, right? It's really powerful with the adaptability of it to parse the hive, registry hive, but also then get all the executables and go through bits jobs and resolve all the LNK files, all these kinds of things to really kind of give you a complete coverage of that. The downside though is that our collector, for some people, is our collector output is a JSON file and they want just a folder of files to do that with. So what we have now is there's a new report format in Cyber Triage. It says all collected files in a zip file, or you can do all source files in a zip file. What this allows you to do is use our collector, get all the data from that live system in our JSON format, bring it into Cyber Triage. You can use the scoring and the analysis to kind of get your initial starting points in the analysis. But then you can also export all of that data into the zip file and then bring that into whatever other tool you want to do your analysis. The output is a folder structure, Windows, System32, kind of structure that pretty much every other tool that supports logical files should support. There's two versions in the output here in the reports. One is all collected files, the other is all source files. The difference here is that source files are things like registry hives, event logs, files that we parsed to get data out of. Prefetch files. I'm sure that as I talk longer, we can come up with more and more. But these are the things that pretty much any of your standard forensic collectors are going to go for, right? That have rules to grab this hive, grab this prefetch file, etc. The all collected files includes the other stuff that we do going above and beyond that, right? The executables, the DLLs, the Word docs, all the other things that were the LNK files that we got, from that resolution, are always coming back, in as part of that. So that's the difference there. Pick whichever one is most relevant for what you want to do in your other tools. If all source files is going to give you the minimal one. All collected files gives you the most coverage of everything we got as a file comes out into that zip file. And then once you get it, it looks like this. Sorry, it's a little pixelated here. The guy expanded it too much and zoomed in, but you get this kind of folder: program files, program data, users, windows. Click into these things. It gives you kind of the full path for all those files. The one big caveat here is not every Windows zip extraction tool likes long file names, as I'm sure you guys may have experienced. So the Windows default tool to expand zip files may not be happy with this, because the resulting files in here, depending on where you save them to, may be longer than kind of the old school 255 character Windows path. So if you use 7-zip or something else, maybe even WinRAR or whatever other tools support zip files, they're happy. You may just get into problems if you use the default Windows extraction method, for this. So if you see those errors, use a different tool to get that supports long file paths. So that's the major stuff for 3.11. Throw your questions in the Q&A section. I'm going to circle back, on that in a second. 3.12 themes, just to kind of give you a little teaser on what we're currently working on. There's a bunch of stuff around PowerShell, both making it easier to see PowerShell activity as well as some scoring around PowerShell activity. So that's a big request that we've had for a while. The other one is there's going to be a new data type. The current term is external storage, but this is subject to change. But that's the concept, right? That we're going to have a new top-level, first-class citizen data type here that's focused on what other places could there be data that came from this system. So this is things like USB drives that were plugged in and exfil methods, right? Like Mega or Google Drive or OneDrive or whatever other kind of cloud resources that may have been used to exfil data or copy data to. So the usual requests in this are intrusions at exfil or like HR investigations on what USB drives were plugged in. Did the user export data to some cloud provider or whatever? So there'll be a new type on there focused on these kinds of things, on what other external to this computer storage things we're connected to, and what do we know about them. So that's another theme. Another thing I kind of alluded to before is kind of more what I'm calling transparency, about files and artifacts that we collect. And this comes up a bunch, honestly, right? Of people are used to, the most common example is people who want to kind of look for, hey, I want to see all prefetch files. And for those of you who Cyber Triage a bunch in the past know that we're parsing prefetch and we turn that into process entries, right? So all the prefetch files that we parse are stored under the process heading because prefetch represents that a process was run. And so we kind of bring it to that higher level thing. But we certainly have people who want to kind of either validate us with another tool that says, hey, here's the prefetch items, or that's just how they were kind of trained to do, is always look at prefetch. So in 3.12, there's going to be a way that you can basically say, hey, I want to see all the processes that came out of prefetch. I want to see all the logon sessions that came out of, event ID 4628, whatever, 24, whatever, I forget the numbers, whatever they are. So there's going to be that kind of navigation, as well as if you go to that prefetch file and you click on it, we're going to show you what artifacts came out of that to, again, allow you to realize that, no, we parsed that. It's inside the process view as part of that. So this is all in the idea of, in some ways, we really want to make your life easier by doing a lot of automation and simplify things. And we're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. We always get questions about kind of just double checking, making sure that we didn't miss stuff and whatever. And so we want to kind of make that more transparent to everyone, to give everybody comfort that we're covering all the stuff they want to get, and that we've done a lot of stuff. So a bunch of things around that. Another theme that we're adding in here is searching past incidents. So we've been adding more and more search capabilities into Cyber Triage. a couple releases ago, we added the ability to search across hosts at an incident level. 3.12 is going to add searching all past incidents, right? So if you get that MD5 or you get that SHA-256, you get that IP address, from IOCs, and you're trying to figure out like, hey, did I ever see that SHA-256 in my past incidents? You can plug it in this new search box, and it will search those past incidents and let you know that you saw it 3 weeks ago, or whatever, as part of an incident, and that may trigger you to reload that incident in and bring some of that more into to reinvestigate that or put some new context into that incident. So that's the stuff. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in there, but this is kind of the main themes. If you have any kind of ideas or specific requests around these themes, this is the time to bring it up. They are still in progress. This is where it's always good to get kind of the details that people are looking for. So if any of these 4 are really important to you and your workflow and some of your gaps, please let us know, and we can make sure that we work those into what we're building as part of 3.12. Let's see. I think that's about it. I think honestly we're gonna tie this in here, depending on questions here, into the half-hour block here. So let's go through a couple questions. If you haven't had your questions in, please plug them in. One of the questions here was about the file viewers on what we had before, and requests around that. So thanks for that on that. So as I mentioned before, right now we have the strings viewer on there. There's certainly talk and ideas about kind of the basic hex viewer, getting a proper text viewer, right? Just in case there's Unicode or whatever on there. We'll probably do kind of a JPEG PNG viewer, just because those can come up as part of like ransomware notes and various things. So if you have specific file types, honestly, like this request was, on here on certain types, please let us know. We don't really, we don't want to spend a whole lot of time building out a full featured, viewer if no one really cares about all these kind of file formats in a tool like Cyber Triage versus more of that kind of deeper dive tool, right? So, Autopsy, for example, has a SQLite database viewer. We haven't discussed adding that kind of thing into Cyber Triage, just because that was usually used in Autopsy as more of a mobile phone, kind of viewer, mobile web app, or mobile apps kind of thing. So, if you guys really care about that kind of thing for Cyber Triage, we can certainly add that in. But those kind of viewers aren't really on the docket at this point. Again, if you've thought about file viewers or wished you really had a way to view a certain file type besides like the text files or the pictures, or some binary things, let us know. We'd love to kind of to understand what those are so we can kind of work them in. Another request here, a list of browser extensions, plugins per browser. That's a really good idea, honestly. I believe we have that in Autopsy that I think we can probably convert over. Certainly a good way for looking for if the computer's been compromised via some browser extensions on there, of looking for that and possibly scoring those as well. So we will add that to our list as well. Certainly as we look into some of these kind of exfil data sync kind of methods, the extensions I'm sure will be kind of part of that analysis. So thanks. All right, any other questions? Please plug them in. It's a quiet day otherwise. Hope this is interesting for you. Again, we always love hearing kind of ideas you have for that. All of our releases are pretty much based off of what you guys are asking for and are coming across. So certainly for all those, please let us know. And some of you may notice as well, I'll just throw this out there just for this audience, which wasn't really part of this because it's not a major thing, but you may stumble upon this, that in starting in 3.11, if you bring in a host with a bunch of suspicious items that's higher than what we would expect, you'll get a little dialogue prompt now saying, hey, this is higher than what we would have expected. Can you engage with us, please, to let us know? And so there's a little dialogue on there And our goal is to work with you all as much as we can to basically understand, some of these hosts that do come in with a high number of false positives. Usually what happens is that there's one kind of rule that gets triggered, and that host happens to have like 500 instances, of this, and so it just becomes a crazy high number or whatever. But we're trying to understand all these things. We want to make sure you guys aren't wasting your time on some of the noise, if you will, from false positives. So if that ever does pop up for you, please just reach out to us and work with us on that if you can, just so we can kind of make sure you don't have to sift through a lot of noise to get to the good evidence and artifacts on your host. So, all right, if nothing else is coming in, then I guess we will wrap this up. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for attending, and we'll see you next release or next workshop or whatever we're doing here to help you guys out. Thanks.